Okay, we're going to talk about today how to factor trinomials with no leading coefficient. And here's our first trinomial. It's x squared plus 9x plus 18. And our step one that I would like for you to do every time you see a trinomial, I want you to draw a big X. Okay. Step two, after you've drawn your big X, is you're going to always take your last number of your trinomial. It shouldn't have a variable by it, but the last number goes in the top of your X. You could kind of think of it as the last shall be first. The last number goes in the top. Your second term, the coefficient, which is the number by the variable, you're going to put in the bottom of your X. Okay? Now, step three, you actually won't put question marks as I have put there, but we are going to put two things in the sides of our X. And those two things, I want you to, the way we're going to get them, those two numbers, so I want you to ask yourself a question. And the question is, what two numbers, when multiplied, are going to give me my top number, which is 18, and when I add those exact same two numbers, I'm going to get my bottom number, which is 9. So what two numbers, when I multiply them, will give me 18, and then when I add them, will give me 9. All right, so we're going to, the first thing to do, you're going to continue in step 3, we're going to look at the multiples of 8. Well, I'm not even going to talk about 1 times 18 equals 18, but because 1 plus 18 is not going to get us anywhere close to 9. But let's start with 2, okay? And let's look at that one. All right, so 2 times 9, I know, equals 18, but 2 plus 9 does not equal 9, obviously. All right, so let's move on. 3 is also a factor of 18. Did I say multiples? I meant factors of 18. And let's look at 3. See what that does. 3 times 6 equals 18, and 3 plus 6 equals 9. So those are our two numbers. So what I want you to do with 3 and 6 is I want you to put them in the sides of your X. It doesn't matter which order. Just 6 could be first and then 3, or 3 plus 6. All right, so you put those in the sides of your X. All right, so now that we have found our two numbers, how do we write out a factored out trinomial? That leads us to step 4. Okay, let's get we have our original trinomial written there, x squared plus 9x plus 18, and we know our two numbers are 3 and 6. The first thing I want you to do is write out or draw out two sets of parentheses, just like this. This should look familiar to you a little bit. And we look at our first term of our trinomial, which is x squared, and we know that x times x is going to give us x squared. So that should always be, when we don't have a leading coefficient, that should always be the first term in both of your parentheses. Now we just go back and we get our 3 and our 6, and we bring them down so that we write x plus 3 times x plus 6. And now we have two binomials. And we've seen these before because when we multiplied binomials using FOIL, we got a trinomial. And actually, that's what we're going to do next. We're going to use FOIL to check our answer and to see if it's correct. Okay, so here we have our x plus 3 times x plus 6. And we've written out FOIL. FOIL, it stands for F for first. And first in our parentheses is x times x again, which is x squared. Then we have O for outside, which is x times 6. And we know that that's 6x. Inside is 3 times x, and we know that that's 3x. And then last is 3 times 6, and that's 18. We add our like terms, and we get x squared plus 9x plus 18. Okay, so now let's try a trinomial with different signs. We're going to do x squared plus 3x minus 10, and we know that Negative 10 goes in the top of our x and 3 goes in the bottom. And we're looking at factors of negative 10. What factors, what two numbers, when multiplied, get us negative 10, but when added, give us positive 3. And we know that to get a negative number when we're multiplying, one of our numbers must be negative and one must be positive. All right, so we go through the factors of negative 10, and I'll give it to you quickly. It's going to be 5 and negative 2, because we know that 5 times negative 2 is negative 10, and 5 minus 2 is 3. And so here's how we write out a factored trinomial. X plus 5 times x minus 2. I'm going to check it quickly with FOIL. We add our like terms, which is negative 2x and positive 5x, and we get x squared plus 3x minus 10. Check it works. Okay, let's try another one with both the second and the third terms of our trinomial negative. We have x squared minus 7x minus 30, and I've gone ahead and I've put negative 30 in the top, negative 7 in the bottom of my x. All right, so what are the factors of negative 30 that get us also negative 7 when added together? Okay, and we know again that one of them has to be negative in order to get a negative 30 when we're multiplying. All right, so let's go through them. How about negative 10 and 3? Because negative 10 times 3 equals negative 30, and negative 10 plus 3 equals negative 7. So again, I write it out, x minus 10, x plus 3. All right, one more, and then we'll be done. I got tired of x, so now we're at a squared minus 10a plus 9. All right, now I have a positive 9 in the top of my x and a negative 10 in the bottom. And I know that in order to get a positive, well, I can multiply two positive numbers to get a positive, but two positive numbers will never get me negative 10 when I add them together. But I also know that if I multiply two negatives, I get a positive, and when I add two negatives, I will get a negative. So let's look at the factors of 9 that get us also negative 10 when added together. Well, we don't have to look very far, because we know that negative 9 times negative 1 get us positive 9, and negative 9 plus negative 1 get us negative 10. All right, so that's it. And now we'll write it out as a factored out trinomial, a minus 9 times a minus 1. I'm going to check it, a squared minus a minus 9a plus 9. We add our like terms, and we get a squared minus 10a plus 9, and it does indeed work.